I'm Chef Frank.
And I'm Chef Tracy.
This is Protocooks, and today we're making peanut brittle. I'm here today with my colleague and friend, Tracy Wilk. And what she's going to do today is teach me how to make peanut brittle. One of the things that I love is sweets, but here's the thing. Even though I'm a chef, I'm not good at making them. So I'm going to start getting some of my friends in here to teach me how to make the things that I don't know how to make. And Tracy is my resident candy expert.
Ooh, yeah. I like that title.
So tell us a little about yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me in Protocooks kitchen today. I've been a pastry chef for about 10 years now. I teach with you, it's been a dream. I love sugar, sprinkles, making people happy, and teaching people to make awesome things in their house.
Yeah. And you have a few things going on now, so tell us about those.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little, we're making the most of the pandemic, I would say. Making, some lemonade out of lemons, if you would. The thing I've been the most proud of is working on hashtag Bake It Forward, which basically started out of my apartment, a way to keep myself busy and make others feel good. And I've been baking cookies for about 5 months straight now, kind of sharing it with our healthcare workers, the fire station, police station, kind of everyone, to say thanks for doing what you do.
Yeah.
And I'm working on my first cookbook to kind of show everyone else how you can sprinkle joy in your own neighborhood.
We're going to give all the links to Tracy's many activities in the description. How many ovens have you been through?
I've only broken one oven so far, so we're doing all right.
Yeah.
One new oven, and quite a few home improvement projects while we're at lockdown.
That's all. We're all doing it.
Right. I'm painting. I've just, learning new things every day here.
Good. And that's kind of the idea of this, is to learn. I don't know everything, and I am an expert maybe in food, but when it comes to pastry, especially candy, I have no idea what I'm doing. So Tracy's going to teach me today. So let's talk about the ingredients for peanut brittle.
We got regular white sugar, light corn syrup, plain old water, unsalted butter, kosher salt, baking soda, unsalted peanuts.
So those are our ingredients, and as an amateur candy maker, I want to know why we use these ingredients. So Tracy, let's go through them and you tell me the why of all these, because I've seen candy made with white sugar, but what is the purpose of the corn syrup or even the baking soda? Because I think that, I know the purpose of the baking soda just because I've seen it over the years, but I'd like to know why.
The why.
Okay, so why white sugar? Why not brown? Or why not demerara sugar?
So you absolutely could use really any sugar. So coconut sugar, you could use brown sugar, but let's back up for a second.
Okay.
And let's say, first of all, what is candy? So candy is basically some kind of sugar in a new form.
Yes.
So it's maybe crystallized, uncrystallized, it's going to change in some kind of form. So it's really chemistry, not so much cookie.
Okay.
So I think that's a really good, important way to start. So the reason we're using white cane sugar is I don't want my sugar to do anything besides change the texture, which is going to give you your candy that we're looking for, and give it sweetness.
Okay.
So you could do a peanut brittle with light brown sugar, but you're going to have a molassesy flavor.
Okay. So the white sugar is a neutral sugar.
It's just sweet.
So it just gives us sweetness. So if we use another sugar, it's going to be something that we're getting different flavors for. So we could use those, but we want a flavor profile, which I know people on YouTube love the word flavor profile.
Absolutely. I think a roasted peanut brittle with some light brown sugar would be fantastic. I do want to say, when you transition to some different sugars, like maybe a coconut sugar, let's say.
Yeah.
The real struggle I have found, and I would love to work with somebody else and learn more about this, is white cane sugar does a lot more than sweeten, and it texturizes, and the way it melts is different.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard when you're working with candy. Hard does not mean impossible, as we know.
Yeah.
To just pull different sugars out. It's not as black and white.
Because it's chemistry, right?
It's totally
It's chemistry, and this sugar has a certain moisture content, whereas coconut sugar has less moisture content.
Absolutely,
right. Okay.
exactly.
So corn syrup is the other thing that, I mean, salt and butter and water and peanuts I think are fairly obvious, but the ones that aren't obvious to me is the corn syrup. So why corn syrup? Like, some people will say that corn syrup is the devil. Why corn syrup?
So the corn syrup that I think we as the United States of America categorize as bad is high fructose corn syrup. This is just light corn syrup. There's light and there's dark. One has molasses, one doesn't. And this is basically sugar in a different form. So that's the only big difference here. In Europe, they mostly use glucose syrup. It's a little bit different, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
And this is going to help us prevent crystallization.
I just said that I didn't think the butter was that important, but you think the butter is really important here.
I do think the butter is really important. So butter is, of course, adding flavor. It's butter. It's delicious. We love butter, right?
Yeah.
But it's also changing the texture. So without this butter, your brittle is going to be real hard, like break your teeth hard. And this is going to make it a little bit softer, which is what we're looking for. We know we're going to get questions. I can already feel them in the comments. Can I use coconut oil? Can I use margarine? Try it. It's not the same. Butter is really special, and I have no doubt Chef Frank has told you guys this.
Yeah, butter.
I would say I think a vegan butter might work.
Yeah.
Coconut oil, I think is too oily, and it's going to kind of leak out. Look, guys, try it. We don't know everything.
So it's not simply replacing a fat for a fat.
No, in this case, it's not a fat equals a fat.
Okay.
Which a lot of times in pastry it is.
Did you say butter's flavored too?
Yeah.
Because butter equals flavor.
We need salt. Scratch that out. Also needs butter.
So salt, I think, is just, I know as a chef, salt's a flavor enhancer. We need salt.
We need salt. We got the answer.
But baking powder, no, it's baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda. Now, I know this just from my background, but why baking soda? Because it does seem like an odd ingredient for candy.
So there's only a few candies that use some kind of leavener, and it's, again, giving us a little bit of kind of a puff. Just so it's, again, not as break your teeth hard is what we're looking for.
So it puts air.
A little bit. It's a very small amount.
Yeah.
I don't say this a lot in pastry. I would say if you really wanted to make this and there was no baking soda to be found, it would still work. It just might not be like kind of as airy or fluffy, how you want to describe that.
But the water, what does the water do?
The water is going to help it cook. The water is basically going to cook out as we actually make our caramel. I think we should kind of break down what is brittle and what we're actually making. So we're actually making a caramel. Okay. Brittle is a caramel candy, usually with nuts, that is at caramel stage and then is hardened. Yeah. So that is where we're going. If we tried to make brittle without water, which you could do with another liquid just to get crazy, it's going to cook way too fast. There's two kinds of caramels in the world, a wet caramel, a dry caramel. Okay. So if we just did this as a dry caramel, I would venture, again, it would work. Try it, let us know. Yeah. But it's going to be real hard to get it fully cooked. So it's going to get super, super dark, but not be where we want it.
So there still might be some like errant sugar crystals maybe?
You're going to get, so when you do a dry caramel, you almost inherently get sugar crystals, which sometimes work when you do something like adding milk to it. Okay. So it just depends what you're doing, why you would pick dry versus wet. I like to always say in kitchens where you were raised, because that's kind of how we talk as industry. So true. So the kitchen I was raised in was ABC Kitchen. We made a ton of caramels. If you've ever had their sundae, it is caramel on caramel. And we did only dry caramels. Okay. So I got real comfortable with those. And then I started doing wet caramels. They're way easier. Yeah. So there's a little bit of fudge factor. Little fudge factor. Ooh. That was a good point. I like that.
These are the jokes, people.
Once you learn brittle, I actually think it's one of the easiest candies.
Cool. So let's start making it then.
Let's do it.
We're going to make the caramel.
Yep.
So I got to turn the heat on, right?
No, we're going to wait. We're going to put our ingredients in first.
Okay. So let's dump everything in.
Yep.
Cool. Just dump, right?
Just dump. Okay. Sugar. Boom. Like corn syrup?
Like corn syrup.
I like to go in order. I don't know why. It's one of those things. Actually, I think I do know why. I think it's a pastry chef thing. Yeah. We like order.
And that's the thing with pastry chefs as opposed to culinary chefs is, like Tracy said earlier, this is more of a science. Like, you know, if you kind of mess things up, it's a science thing. It's not so much I burnt it. It's more of like, hey,
I burnt it. It's over.
Yeah, I put too much sugar in it. It was wrong, you know. So
butter next.
Butter next. Okay.
I've always said I think pastry and culinary were two different minds.
Yeah.
A and B brain, however you want to categorize that.
And then water?
Water, please.
Okay, good. So those are all in.
Yep.
What do we do next?
Now we're going to go ahead and turn our heat on.
Okay, this might get a little loud. I'm at 320 degrees.
So I'm going to go ahead and say turn it all the way up.
Okay, so as high as it goes.
High as it goes. With induction, we have pretty good control of the heat. And you're going to give it a little bit of a stir. I don't want too much stirring because I'm trying to not crystallize my sugar.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that all of the sugar is wet, which is what you're doing.
Okay.
And now you're good.
So there's no clumps on the bottom or anything?
No clumps. Let it go.
We're going to leave this on until what?
So we're going to leave it on until there's a couple stages the brittle is going to go through, which the first stage is it's going to come up to a boil. We're going to see it go to softball, and then we're going to see it go through all the stages of sugar making, ending at caramel.
Okay, so how long do you think that's going to take?
I think it's about like 8 to 12 minutes total, so it's pretty quick. So we're kind of at what I would say is phase 1 of our sugar cooking, which basically some boiling is starting to happen in like kind of in one area.
Yeah.
But we need all of our butter to melt, and we need the entire pot to do what's in that area there.
Okay, we're starting to boil. Let's talk about equipment. I'm going to talk about this one. I've had this. It's Matfer, and it's a heat-proof stirrer. It's not necessarily a spatula.
It's like I would call it a candy spatula, which isn't a real thing. Actually, I have a story on a candy spatula.
Okay.
First day ever of my internship. All right, so I'm like brand new out of culinary school, like walking in, you know, you're real proud of yourself. Yeah. And my executive pastry chef was like, okay, get your candy spatula out, and we're gonna make a caramel. And I was like, what? Come again? And I never felt so stupid.
Yeah.
I went on Amazon or Google that
Looked
night.
up candy spatula and they had nothing.
Nothing. And I was like, "Ugh," and you don't want to ask because you got to look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I have 2, and I still have the same one that I bought.
So this is, and these aren't cheap. These are really good quality. I've had this for about 20 years now.
Yeah, I mean, like that blue one.
Maybe
I've had
more
for 10
like
years.
16, 17 years. And their quality, this used to be my risotto. I use this for risotto.
Nice.
So it's heat proof. And that's a really important thing, right? Can we use other heat proof stuff?
Yeah, you can use any kind of heat proof spatula, which if you, it will tell you if it's heat proof.
Okay.
But that being said, it's made out of plastic. So something like this is great. If you don't have this, I would say second best is a wooden spoon. Third best, I would go for spatula because I don't want you to ruin your spatula. Now we're at a full boil over here, but until we start getting some color, we can just let her do her thing. Let her keep cooking. She's fine. You'll know when some color starts to happen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Rolling pin. We have a rolling pin. And this is not something I would think of as a, look at how, like, I got flour on my rolling pin.
From your pasta.
So embarrassed. So my rolling pin, why rolling pin?
The rolling pin, we are actually going to roll the candy out.
Yeah.
So it can be a nice thin sheet. So we don't have, again, super thick, break your teeth brittle.
Okay. And then we have 2 other things here. Parchment paper, right? Which we're not going to use, but you could, right?
I would totally use parchment paper. Awesome. That's what I used almost every day. Chef Frank happens to have some nice silpats, which are basically non-stick mats that essentially really are made for candy making.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, if you have it, great. Cool. If you don't use this, I personally don't have a silpat at my house, so I'd be making it with parchment.
Okay.
If you have one, awesome. It's kind of like, it doesn't really matter.
That's right. Other than the pot and the burner and stuff like that.
Right. With the pot, actually, whenever you're doing candy making, or I think you will probably agree with this for culinary, you really want to make sure it's a triple ply pot. Yeah. Which means it's heavy bottomed. It will burn too quick and not cook through. That was something I learned the hard way when I was trying to teach myself how to make candy. Okay.
So this is a fairly expensive pot. You don't want a thin walled pot. You want something that has a heavy bottom. So are we close?
We're close. We're at the point that I used to say when I used to teach this a lot, that now I would start paying attention.
Okay.
So before we were like, la la la, now let me start looking, and when we start to get some color, we'll begin to stir it. I don't want to stir it more than I have to, just because of that crystallization factor.
Okay, cool. So we'll wait until it starts to get color.
Yep.
Cool.
At this point, if you'd like, you might want to give it a little stir.
Okay.
You can see kind of over
we're getting
here.
Crusty. So
we want to get it a little just more even color.
Do you want me to get that off? Can I take that off?
The crusties can just hang.
Okay. So give it a stir.
That's it. And I actually want to highlight exactly how you're stirring right now. Yeah. Because the way you just stirred is a great time to talk about safety. Okay. Because that was a nice aggressive.
So I shouldn't put this in my mouth.
Don't put that in your mouth. You can actually keep the spoon in there if you want. Just let it hang out.
That's a heat-proof spatula, okay?
Totally heat-proof here. Okay. But you want to be really gentle when you stir sugar, because, I mean, I'm living proof here with my personal battle scars over here. Yeah. But it's more of a gentle stir because it really can fling right up.
And splash.
And what are the 2 worst burns in a kitchen?
Sugar and steam.
Oh, I would say sugar and oil.
No, steam burns much worse than oil.
I'll hear you. Fair. So maybe top 3. So, yeah. But I would say sugar is number 1.
Okay. And I've had experience with this. If you get cooked sugar like this or melted sugar on you, it's like napalm. You brush it off and you almost immediately blister.
Yep.
The hand that you brush it off with gets burnt, and then you put it under cold water and you get scars. My scars luckily have faded. Tracy still has her battle scars. Everything we need in order to finish this brittle is in front of us. The peanuts, the baking powder, baking soda, the salt, and the equipment that we need. So it's really important to have that stuff ready next to you, right?
Next to you, ready to go. So
Okay,
now
good.
at this point, it is game time. You're off the phone, you're paying attention, you're all in.
Okay, good.
And now we're just gonna go by color.
Okay.
So I like a nice, real golden ambery. I actually related a lot to almost the color of our peanuts.
Okay.
At this point, we're at a nice, beautiful color. We're gonna go ahead and turn it off.
Okay.
And Chef Frank is going to add the salt and the baking soda.
And you're gonna stir.
I'm gonna stir, exactly.
Okay, so I know what's gonna happen when we add the baking soda.
You all should see it.
Look at that.
Magic right there.
It
And
gets
now,
foamy and crazy cool.
at this nice hot point, we're gonna add our peanuts. And if you're struggling to toss them all in, you actually can put your heat on really, really low, just if you need to. But this is a pretty small batch where I'm able to keep control of it. And you want to make sure everything is evenly coated so you get peanuts in every bite.
That's a lovely color.
Thank you.
And I noticed there was a shift in color, okay?
So once again with safety, and I think we all as chefs want to make sure that we scrape everything out. You're not going to get that with this, and
Okay.
kind of like let it go.
Okay,
cut your losses. if
Can
you
we lick that pan now?
I would recommend not, but like you do you,
Okay.
Chef Frank. I would say to our friends not to.
Okay, let's move that out of the way so we don't bump into it. We had a good question from the peanut gallery. Yeah, these are the jokes. Why didn't we put it on a sheet pan?
We're going to show you why in 1 second.
Okay.
You want to move quick with this because it's going to harden.
Okay, so I know what I have to do here. I have to put this on top.
Correct. So you don't touch it.
Okay.
You really don't want to touch this point.
I can't touch it,
You can if you.
but I'm a
he's
chef.
wild,
I have
guys.
chef hands.
And you're going to actually just roll it out, which is why you don't want a pan. Because if you have a pan, your lip, unless it's a flat sheet tray, is actually going to prevent you from rolling it.
And we are doing this just to get an even...
Super, super thin. I have found with brittle, if you try to spread it out with like a spatula, it just kind of sticks and gets stringy. And this is classic peanut brittle right here.
Awesome. Is that good, you think, or we got to go thinner?
Let's check it. Let's see what's going on. We're looking good.
Let's look this way. What are you looking
good.
for?
I would like to get a little bit thinner, just because in the middle a little bit it's a little thick.
Okay.
You know, I'm thinking back of teaching my pastry students how to roll pie dough. The middle is always too thick, chef, right?
Yeah, always. And don't roll off the edges, because you don't want to...
He's got it, guys.
I know a few things, okay?
But it's really similar, and it's also never going to be perfect because it's brittle, and we're going to break it up once it cools.
Are you cool with that?
Oh, chef, you did great.
Yes, chef. Thank you.
So let this just cool. I actually like to leave the top layer on. To me, it signals to people like Chef Frank, don't eat this, it's hot.
Our brittle has been cooling. How long, you think? 10 minutes?
20 minutes or so.
20 minutes. Okay, I don't know. I have no concept of time. It's COVID. So we want to be safe and wear gloves. So look at that. Let's look.
She's beautiful.
She is beautiful. Look at that. And you know what's really funny is that I've made brittle before. Never this beautiful. But the rolling pin to me was key. Like, it's perfectly level and beautiful. So what do we do next?
So if you wanted to, you could take a knife, but we don't got time for that. Just go ahead and break her up into some bite-sized pieces.
Look at that.
A little bit of anger management for you.
Look at that. Okay. Before we taste, how should I store it?
Storage, really important that it is in a moisture-free place and ideally somewhere not humid. Sugar hates humidity.
Okay.
It's like me, I understand. I feel you, sugar.
Okay.
So something like a
I got
glass
this.
container.
I have a Pyrex container with a lid. Is that good?
A lid's great. Here's a tip, especially I know you have kids. I know they're older, but kids are kids. And also people like you, Frank, make sure it is sealed when you are done snacking. Because if you leave it open, it's going to go bad. And once it's soft, there's really no coming back.
Okay, and we want this to be crispy.
We want it crispy, crunchy, salty, and sweet.
Good. Okay, so let's taste and see how we did. I'm going to take
Go for
that.
it.
That's my piece.
Salute.
Cheers. Oh, man.
Good brittle?
Doesn't break your teeth,
No.
right? It's got a nice... It's just amazing. It's beautiful.
Wow. Amazing from Chef Frank Proto.
I mean, it's butter and caramel and, like, you know, what's not amazing about that? But it's delicious. Excellent. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you for having me.
I've learned a lot, and you know, for me, I've been doing this for about 24 years. To learn something is like a joy for me.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, like, I believe that we are consistently learning throughout our lives, and I've learned like 10 things today that can make, if I want to make candy, I can make it better.
I love that.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cool. So I'm going to put a link to all of Tracy's information. I'll put, just so you can guys find her, in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit the little bell to make sure that you get notified when we have new videos out. We're going to have more in these series of other chefs teaching me how to do things I don't know. So you get that bell, you'll start to see that stuff. I read comments. I constantly read comments. I think it's so much fun to hear what you guys have to say, and I appreciate some of the tips that people actually give me. We have merchandise, Neat Salt t-shirts. The link will be down below. We also started a Patreon, and I want to thank our patrons so much. It helps us keep doing what we love doing. Again, a link will be down there in the description as well. Also, there'll be links in the description for all the equipment and the items that we used in our video today. I want to thank Chef Tracy again for coming, and we're going to have you back soon.
Can't wait.
Thank you. I'm Chef Frank. This is Protocooks. Thanks for watching.